Hi there, everyone, and welcome to our first ever Be a Better Human Speak Out session. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the land that UNSW is situated on, the land of the Bedical, the Gadigal, and the Ngunnawal people. And I'd like to acknowledge the land that I am calling in from today, so that's the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present, and I'd like to note that this land was stolen and never ceded, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Um, Thank you all so much for watching along with this session. My name is Angela, and I'm a student studying at UNSW and have been involved on campus for a number of years. I was Women's Officer in 2018 and President of the SRC in 2019, and I'm currently running the Be a Better Human campaign for ARC at UNSW, the student organisation on campus. So the Be a Better Human campaign is a collaboration between ARC and the UNSW Division of Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, which aims to strengthen a respectful and inclusive culture at our university. Together, we want to encourage everyone to do more when it comes to understanding, preventing and responding to disrespectful behaviours. With this campaign, we call upon the UNSW community to commit to challenging all forms of racism, discrimination, misconduct, bullying and harassment, and become allies to diverse communities. As an extension of this, today we are launching the first ever edition of the Speak Out content series. The series invites people to courageously share their personal experiences of speaking out against injustice. We hope these stories will help the UNSW community to understand how we can better support our classmates, colleagues, friends, and fellow community members by being an active bystander and safely providing support to those being impacted. So over the coming months, we are really excited to be able to share with you the stories from a really impressive list of speakers we've lined up. And today we are honoured to introduce you to Khadija Gbla. Khadija is a cultural consultant and peer educator with unmatched ability to bridge the difference. Khadija provides advocacy, training, speaking on domestic and family violence, sexual health, racism, human rights, mental health, migrants and refugees, and cultural diversity. Born in Sierra Leone, Khadija spent her youth in Gambia and is now based in Adelaide. As Executive Director of No FGM Australia, Khadija advocates for protection and support for women and girls living with or at risk of female genital mutilation. Khadija is the co-founder of the Desert Flower Centre Australia, the first centre in Australia and the Asia Pacific region that specialises in providing holistic, comprehensive, gynecological, urological, reconstructive surgery and trauma-informed care for women impacted by female genital mutilation. Khadija is involved in a broad range of other human rights organisations and campaigns. Across all of the work she undertakes, Khadija encourages people to challenge their understandings of the world around them and to question the uncritical acceptance of stereotypes and assumptions that are made about them and unfamiliar cultures. So following this talk, my colleague Farhana Lafurnace will ask some of the questions you have submitted, but for now, please join me in welcoming Khadija Gbla.
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that the land that I am speaking to you from is the land of the Ghana people, and I pay my respects to them, and I acknowledge their continual relationship with the land that we all live on, and I absolutely recognize their fight for justice, for reconciliation, for their right to claim back what is truly theirs. So thank you for having me today. It is so good to talk to people in our crazy world right now, but congratulations to you and your community for this journey you're about to embark on. As somebody who works in the domestic and family violence space, you know, issues around respect are such an important part of my life and my work that I do. And I'm a believer that communities, when empowered, can create change, that we all have the ability to be change makers. And we don't just need to look up to, I guess, governments and agencies to make that change, but each and every single one of us as individuals can do that around in our world, be it at home, at school, at work, just out and about in our community. So this topic of disrespectful behaviors, I think the timing is so perfect because disrespectful behaviors are just around us everywhere. With COVID, we probably saw the amplification of disrespectful behaviors in all its forms, whether casual, subtle, or very overt. We saw the high rates of racism in our community, especially against Asians. And of course, we saw also the amplification of domestic and family violence, both towards women and children. So the timing could not be perfect. So once again, congratulations to you guys for wanting to be part of that change and taking that responsibility to create change in your community. I believe the key to dealing with disrespectful behavior is actually recognizing them as they're happening. I think in my work in DV, what I have realized is that we all assume we know what disrespectful behaviors are, but it actually differs from person to person and community to community and workplace to workplace, wherever your culture might be, even your home culture at home. Not everyone may agree on what they all perceive to be disrespectful behaviors. But the interesting thing is that if somebody feels disrespected, then that's actually quite a valid thing to begin with. But we do have some behaviors that we understand as a society are very disrespectful, be it racism, sexism, ableism, transphobia, just anything that makes people feel unsafe, takes away their dignity, takes away their right to feel seen, respected, their right to feel like they can speak up and be heard. These things all actually matter, and they're actually quite powerful. So I think the first step in actually tackling disrespectful behaviors is actually recognizing disrespectful behaviors. And then after recognizing them, we actually have to name them. It's amazing how sometimes we just say, oh, that didn't feel right. I didn't like what that person said or did, or I don't know, that interaction just gave me a yucky feeling. But when we go beyond that, we can actually, there's an opportunity to sort of unpack that enough to say, well, I think this was disrespect towards a woman. So was that sexism? This was like a joke against somebody who is non-white. Was that racism? What is happening? Because there are names, and these names are powerful. It's amazing the moment we name a behavior, the moment we name an action, how validating it can be for the victim, how powerful it can be for the perpetrator as well in that moment, in being told their behavior is not okay and it has a name. And I have always found those moments very, very powerful. And I think the third thing to sort of think about when it comes to disrespectful behavior is knowing how to respond appropriately, but most importantly, safely. Because I think that needs to be said. We all have good intentions, and we may all want to step in and be superheroes and save the day, but there's no point in tackling disrespectful behaviors if we just create chaos, if we just amplify a already awkward, tense situation, because we can actually make it even more dangerous. We can actually put the victim in a more unsafe environment. We can further make ourselves unsafe. So I always emphasize the importance of our response being appropriate and safe. Some disrespectful behaviors, I believe in our society are quite normalized. And I think that's why there's always so much backlash when we try to tackle them as a community and when individuals call them out, because they go to who we think we are as individuals, but also as a community. And I find, particularly in Australia, we do tend to hide behind humor. It's just the Aussie way. And when people use humor to sort of peddle their bigotry, their disrespect, it can sort of feel hard to sort of call out and intercept, because usually and most often you're told it's just a joke, you're being too sensitive, why can't you just be Australian, why can't you just roll with it? And that can be quite tough, because we all do want to be part of the joke if it was funny, if it did not demoralize somebody else, if it wasn't taking a piss at somebody else, if we were all in the joke rather than being the butt of the joke or somebody else being the butt of the joke. So I do think that's just a communal sort of cultural thing for us to watch out for, and also as allies particularly, to really look into those jokes where everyone is laughing but thinking, well, who is at the center of this joke and who are we laughing at? And it's not funny. Sexism is not funny. Racism is not funny. Ableism is not funny. Homophobia is not funny. Making people feel unsafe, there's nothing funny about that whatsoever. Making jokes about people's mental health, there's nothing funny about that. There's so many other jokes, and people are not clever enough to come up with jokes that are actually funny. What's the point, But I think it's so important in having this conversation, though, as well, in light of equality and intersexuality, that we actually also recognize those who are more vulnerable to disrespectful behaviors in our community, because obviously we're not all equal. Intersectionalities, we have to look at all the other contributing factors to people's identities and how structural systems can discriminate against them, as well as community sort of policies and norms. So we do need to think about women, children, disabled people, non-white people, LGBTIQ plus A community members, the elderly, and so forth, because they are more likely to be targeted. We see that with Muslim women because of the hijab and being so hyper visible, being targeted. We saw, like I said, with Asians during COVID and any other time, racism is rife anyway, anybody who's sort of white. So we see this playing out over and over. So we must realize as we're doing this work that those who are further vulnerable. I mean, I think I remember a couple of years ago when there was an attack on Muslim community members in Australia, how people took on, was it trains, and said, I will sit with you or I will ride with you. What we have seen is the power of communities recognizing when members of our communities are under attack and are being made unsafe. And I don't know about you, but moments like that truly warm my heart and really restore my faith in humanity. But they speak to the power of all of us in coming together to call out this unsafe and unhealthy behavior that just further divides our community. The key to, I think, tackling disrespectful behaviors is understanding that when we do nothing, we actually cause harm. And that may not be our intent. And we know the situations when one may not be able to speak up or intervene. I absolutely recognize that. But where there is an opportunity, where there is a sphere of influence, where possible, when we step in, we are doing the right thing. When we do nothing, we actually cause harm. We leave a victim feeling like unsupported. We leave a perpetrator feeling like the behavior is okay. And as a whole, we miss a chance to potentially to have planted a seed of change, but to have also just said, this is not okay. Research shows that disrespectful behaviors can lead to violence. And sadly, in the case of violence against women in Australia, where one woman a week is being killed by a current or former partner, or women can't even walk down the street safely, doing nothing takes a whole new meaning. When I say doing nothing causes harm, takes a whole new meaning as well. And this is not to say we are all responsible for the bad choices that bad people, who choose to do what they do. But what we're saying is that these behaviors do start with those jokes, those everyday comments, those incidents at work and things we all observe. And sometimes by just not taking action, by not speaking up, by not actually calling it out, we normalize it enough that we now live in a world where I can say start like that. And that's quite shocking. And that's quite unacceptable, that's the society that we live in, that people are literally losing their lives, that we have coward punch happening. People feel unsafe on buses, on the roads, in their workplaces. They're all part of this conversation that we are actually having. So by understanding, recognizing, preventing, and responding to disrespectful behaviors, we are actually saving lives. I know people throw that word around a lot, but we actually are. It's amazing the impact one can make when somebody is confronted with an unsafe behavior and a perpetrator, and just having somebody step in and support you, what difference it can make for you walking away from that incident. I know as a Black woman, for example, when I'm out about and things have happened and I've been the target of, say, for example, either sexism or racism or both, sometimes I don't know which one somebody's peddling, just having somebody step in has really actually reduced the impact of the incident, has reduced the trauma that will have ensued as a result of that incident. So it's actually quite powerful, our intervention, our ability to speak truth in those moments and call something out. It's life-changing for those who are on the other side. But like I said, for even perpetrators, sometimes it can be what prompts somebody to really reflect on their behavior, to take a second look at how they speak or the things they do and go, oh, I didn't realize that was harmful. I didn't know this wasn't okay. I will change my behavior now. I will try to do better. So I think there's so much power in that. one of my favorite saying and quote in this sort of violence, safety sort of place is the saying, the standard you walk by is the standard you accept. I'm a believer in that. I think we can all espouse a lot of values of, equality, and everyone has equal rights, and everyone should be treated this way, and everyone should feel safe. But the reality is sometimes living those values can be harder and more complicated than just saying the words. But there's no point in having values if we don't actually live them and breathe them and actually put them in reality. So the standard we walk by is the standard we accept. So what we ignore, what we don't call out, what we don't name, we're essentially saying is okay. And that's our value, that we are okay with that. And I don't think any of us want that when it comes to disrespectful behaviors. I don't think that's what we want to be part of our value. And I don't think we want that to be a standard in our community, because I think all of us realize just the impact that it can actually have. So when it comes to what can we all do then, I think I have always believed as a human rights activist that we all have spheres of influence. I am not saying we all need to, first of all, rush down the street now and put banners up and be like, we're going to stop work, nothing is happening, stop disrespectful behaviors. That's one form of action. But I think that's what everyone seems to think change means, going to do the big stuff. What I recognize, even as a 13-year-old going through being bicultural, experiencing racism, sexism, and seeing the everyday gender stuff and everyday racism stuff, is that it starts where we have influence, like places like home. My home is the first place I challenge disrespectful behaviors, be it a parent to myself or to others, be it uncles making comment about aunties, just in that space around the dinner table, the barbecues, and that space is so powerful. We overlook that as a space to really create that meaningful change, to create that safety. Then when you move beyond that, your workplace, it's amazing how many of us see disrespectful behaviors at work and just don't do anything, or say, well, it's not me, got nothing to do with me, got nothing to do with you today, but potentially could have something to do with you tomorrow. Because when we normalize these behaviors, they have a way of just, moving on to their next victim, just continually. It could be in your sports club, it could be in your faith group. We all have spheres of influence. You don't need a title, you don't need a fancy office to be someone who can recognize a disrespectful behavior and name it and call it out and stand in solidarity with whoever may be the victim of that behavior. To me, the next most powerful thing we can all do is role modeling healthy behavior, the opposite of disrespectful behavior. Just modeling it, showing what it looks like in action. It might seem like a passive way of going about creating that change, but role modeling, just living something you espouse, can be so powerful for those around you as they observe you behaving that way, as they observe you treating others that way. It's powerful. I mean, for us who have children, role modeling is just inbuilt. Our kids are constantly watching us. They're watching how their fathers speak to their mom, how mom speaks to dad, how, the adults in their life relate to each other. Then they go to school, and then we go to workplaces. We see how our senior staff speak and carry about. We are watching, just like we are all watching as a nation, as our parliament. We saw disrespectful behavior come to the forefront. We saw unsafe behavior being showcased. We all watched. We all observe to see how that plays out, what it says about all of us. Role modeling, showing how to act, how to react, how to show respect, how to treat people who have difference of opinion to you, people who are different from you. Role modeling might seem passive, but I think it's one of the most powerful ways to create change. I want to actually really acknowledge the power of men in the conversation around disrespectful behaviors. And I don't want to say anything negative. I actually want to say something positive. How powerful it is when men speak to other men, when men role model to other men, when men call out other men. It is the most powerful thing we can do. So I call on all men, listening people identify as men. You have power in your male peer relationships to be that bloke who does the right thing and role models healthy, respectful behavior. Yes, you may get a smack going, oh, stop it, you know, but it's powerful how you actually is such a powerful agent of change. So I call on all men to recognize that those peer relationships are one of the most powerful spaces you have to actually create change and to sort of affect change with your peers in really role modeling this stuff, but also being in a place to actually stand up as an ally, you know, and really just what that says to all of us as a community as well. I would love to end with some just simple actions of how to be an allied bystander, things that we can all do. When you see or hear disrespectful behavior, do something. It can be as simple as saying, that is not okay. What you just said is not okay. It can be as simple as that. If you can put a complaint in. And this is where the Karens come in. See, Karens never started off as bad people, to be honest with you. I know they've got a bad name, but what a Karen is good at is putting in a complaint. I'm just saying, let's channel a bit of healthy Karen, put complaints in that are valid and real with good intentions and the right intentions. Because it's powerful when we put those complaints in and try to get accountability and try to create change. Record the incident if you can, because that's evidence. It means that the victim then doesn't have to be somebody who has to remember everything. Because when something bad has happened, sometimes it can be hard to want to speak up or say more, but at least having a recording might actually go a long way in helping that situation. Name it. Your behavior was sexist. Your behavior was racist. Your behavior was unacceptable. Name it. Your behavior goes against our values in this workplace. Name it. Doing nothing when you witness disrespect is harmful and creates a culture in which we normalize this behavior. So even if you don't call out disrespect in the first time that you see it, I think it is important that you don't just sit with those uncomfortable emotions, but think of what you could do next time. Because I believe we're all humans, okay? So it's not always that we are up to the fight. I am not always up for the fight, and my job is literally to be up for the fight. But it's recognizing that the next time we have an opportunity, we can choose to do differently. There are lots of ways to do something depending on how comfortable you feel. If you feel safe to intervene, you can potentially intervene physically. If you feel safe to block a party who is harassing somebody, you could potentially do that. If you feel safe to just talk to the victim directly instead of the perpetrator, then that disarms them and takes away attention from them. Potentially, you're able to de-escalate that situation. You can show disapproval with your body language as well. That can be such a powerful way of saying that's not okay, that's not good enough. And you can powerfully show support to the victim and just focus, like I said before, your attention on them. Ask them how they're doing. If there's anything you can do to help them, do they need you to take some notes? Can you call somebody for them? That is powerful. You can speak up and talk to the disrespectful person if you feel safe to do so. And this is where men sort of come in. I think because men are more likely to be able to be in a position to do that kind of intervention, because it's just, physical strength and all. Also, other men tend to back away very quickly when somebody their size is actually interacting with them rather than their perceived weak victims. So that can be just as powerful as well. You can talk to the perpetrator privately if you want to, or send them an email if you have their contact details. This can work in a workplace and places where you're working closely with somebody. You can then decide this is not the time, but later you will come back to it. Research shows that when you speak up against disrespectful behaviors, it's extremely likely that you will be supported by the other people around you. So we have all seen those videos online when somebody stepped up to actually call out disrespectful behavior to protect a victim. Other people have gone, clap for them and really show them moral support because they recognize that wasn't okay, but they may not have been brave or felt safe enough to intervene. But once somebody does, they want to show their support that we all observe that behavior and it's not okay. And thank you very much for doing so. So to end, every little bit helps. Call it out, recognize it, name it, speak up if it's safe to do so. There's always something to be done. But most importantly, just recognizing that we have the power to truly set the norm and the standard of how we all want to be treated and how we want others to be treated, I think is quite powerful. But most importantly, I think we all deserve to live in a community where everyone feels safe, and because it actually adds to our harmony, it adds to our sense of community. And we want nothing to disrupt that as much as possible. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Khadija, for joining us today and for being so generous with your advice and your insights. We do have a few questions that some of them have been submitted by our students and our staff at UNSW, and others are mine that I have been writing as you were speaking. But just to kick us off, you've shared your stories with literally millions of people, so through TEDx and through so many other platforms over the years. What do you think is the power of speaking out about your experiences?
Oh, I think it's life-changing. And I think probably everyone says that. We have books on storytelling. We have cultures who have always been, oral cultures like mine. That's the only way we believe we should be passing on information. But to me, there was never any option of not sharing, because I recognized that it was healing, even just for me to do that, to name it. So what I was saying before, that whole naming, recognizing, I live and breathe that. So when I put words to my story, I was naming things. I was saying this is FGM, it's unacceptable. I was saying this is sexism, this is not okay. That had power. It created power just doing that. So I found that to be so healing just for myself. And then the next step from that, what I realized with storytelling is how validating it is for others. In every room I have been in, even when my voice was shaking, my hands were moving around, and my accent was doing whatever it does, and people weren't sure if they were hearing 2-3 words in there and over there, there was always somebody in that room who that story resonated with. It's like I had put towards their experience. I had validated them, even if it wasn't exactly the same experience, but there's power in going, oh my God. I think that is so powerful, and that's free as well. The ability to validate another human, the ability to put words to their story, to say you are not alone. By doing my TED Talk, I have millions of people all over the world who felt not alone, who felt finally seen and heard. I have women from India to Brazil, sisters, aunties, fathers, who message and say, I feel seen, I feel heard. Thank you for giving me something to work with. And the next powerful thing about sharing our story is the change that we can inspire. I mean, we have seen that in Australia just recently with Brittany Higgins and Christine. But even before that, Aboriginal women from all walks of life, people of all walks of life, the LGBTIQ+A, people with disability, all just stepping up, and we create change when we speak up and just share our stories. And sometimes that's not even what your intent is. You're just like, I have something to say. I'm just going to say it. This is sad. I'm going to cry. But still, somebody hears it and goes, oh my God, I'm inspired. I'm going to make it. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it. This is unacceptable. It's just, I think, absolutely powerful. So I always advise others that sharing is powerful as well, but make sure that's what you want to do. Make sure that you're clear on what your intent is with doing that. It can be as simple as you just sharing it just because you want to say it out loud. It doesn't always have to end up in activism, because I think sometimes they push that on everyone. Not everyone needs to go that far. Some people just want to share the story and that's the end of it. That is just as powerful. There's nothing less about that. My experience is no less than, no more than somebody just goes, I want to share, but I don't want to do anything further than that. That is okay. But just know that in whatever your experience is, there's a beautiful story there. And that story just for you is healing and powerful. If you take the next step, God, it can be a catalyst for change in ways you can't even imagine. And further than that, you just can let somebody else know they're not alone in the world and you're with them.
Thank you so much. That's very inspiring words, I think, for all of us here. I did want to ask you, so I know one of the main goals of our program with Be a Better Human and the campaign at UNSW, it is about creating that culture where people feel like they can be active bystanders. And you spoke about allyship and being an active bystander. And obviously, you know, throughout your career and your activism, you've been such a strong advocate for so many communities. For you, why is it important for diverse communities to have visible allies advocating with us?
Well, look, we're already going through it, okay? Let's be honest. Racial violence is real, okay? It's hard out there. I'm just going to say that. It's exhausting to fight for your humanity all the time. It's exhausting to fight for your right to exist safely, be it a woman, you know, a Black person, you know, gay person. It's a disabled person. It's just exhausting. Let's put it that way. We need allies because we can't carry that shit on our own, okay? And part of having privilege and the responsibility that comes with having privilege is wanting to reduce the harm your privilege causes in the world, for Christ's sake. I mean, I would think that would be obvious to everyone, but, you know, just in case it wasn't. But if you're going to have the privilege, by all means, buddy, level the playing field, okay? Do something with it. So, you know, to me, it's a no-brainer whatsoever that we have allies, and not because you're saving us. We don't need saving. I don't need saving. What can I need saving? We don't need saving. What we need are people who are willing to do the work of checking themselves and check your brother, your sister, your Karen auntie, your grandma. You go check them, boo-boo. Shouldn't be up to me to be checking them out in the streets. That's exhausting. And when I check them, it might not go well. So you better go check them. That's what I'm saying. Check them. Make that your full-time job, checking them so they do less harm. Check yourself so you're not out here doing harm. There is no point in existing in this world and not recognizing the way you contribute, whether negatively or positive, but in this case, negatively through your privilege. And you have this thing that, oh, I understand, through birth, you didn't ask for, but you have it. Why will you not want to ensure then you do your part to dismantle those systems of oppression? Because guess what? It's safer for you than me. When we do it, the backlash, the hate, the anger, that's just adding to the trauma we're already going through. When you do it, you may be uncomfortable for a couple of seconds and like, and then you're fine. That's the reality and why we need allies. Talking to your peers, like I was saying before about men talking to men, how they listen is powerful. That's why as well in allyship, when white people talk to the white people, everything sounds dandy. Everything is the right tone. Everything's less aggressive. It's all happening, you know, over those bland salads. I'm just saying, that's all fine. I love you still with your salads, okay? And nobody talking down on the salads, but it works. White people are more likely to take information and see it as more digestible. Just like hetero people are out here going, oh, heteros are under attack. Let the heteros talk to the hetero people, okay? Call them out on that shit. But that's just dumb as hell. I don't even know where we're going with that. You know, before Black Lives Matter, nobody said anything else. Before, you know, gay rights, nobody said anything else. And all of a sudden, people are all up in arms because their privilege is being rattled. They're being told that they need to do something. And doing something, I mean, for Christ's sake, why would we not all want to live in a world where every member of our community can thrive, exist safely, and be their best? We all benefit from that. This harmony hurts all of us. So why wouldn't we all want to contribute in creating harmony and safety for everyone? It's a no-brainer. So check yourself, check your auntie, and check your grandma. Check them out. Just saying.
Good advice. Thank you so much. You
I'm gonna edit some of that. I don't know.
I don't know if they. I loved it all. I'm delighted to hear. I did want to ask you as well that you mentioned to kind of go back to that point about the exhaustion that a lot of people who are part of these communities feel. You mentioned that impact that bystander intervention can have for people to speak truth in the moment of experiencing disrespectful behavior or sexism or racism or homophobia or transphobia, and whatever it is. And that sense of, I wrote it down, being up for the fight. And I don't know about everyone else who's listening to this, but I mean, for me, when I've been in those situations, I always feel like I think of the best thing to say an hour later. But at the time, it's a really difficult thing to respond to in the moment. So I was wondering if you had any advice for folks who are on the receiving end, so not the perpetrators out there, but the folks who are actually the ones experiencing this type of behavior, when speaking up for ourselves is something that's easier said than done. Do you have any advice for those of us who find ourselves in these situations and how we can protect ourselves or intervene safely?
Absolutely. Sometimes look, when these things happen and that's trauma kicks in, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Fight, obvious, freeze, fawn. Fawn is the last new one they have added to that list of trauma response. It's the one where you negotiate with the person. I always say to people, in that situation, let your natural instincts guide you. If you don't feel like speaking up, don't speak up. It's okay. This is why allies should be there to do that work. It shouldn't be on us. If you don't feel like it, don't. Because honestly, there are days I'm like, not today, devil. Nah, not doing this. Nah, we're not doing this. I'm not engaging. I'm not. I'm disassociating. You're not here. I'm in a romance novel being carried away off in the wind. I don't know you like that. Nothing. No, that's me. You can carry on. This is a reflection of you. I'm not. And of course, that's one kind of situation. Other times I may feel like I can speak up and feel that grunt, or I've got a good night's sleep. My cup maybe is a bit more full, because that's it. All these variables add. And I will speak and go, I'm sorry, no, or walk away. You don't gotta sit and listen to this idiot. Walk away. Talk to the back. Talk to my booty. I don't know you. Bye. Walk away. That is just as powerful a statement. Talk to the ass. You don't have none. Talk to it. I'm just saying. If you're not walking away and you're still standing there, look, body language, like I said before, can tell everybody everything, that I am not even participating with you. I'm turning away. I am not engaging with you, or I'm staring you down like, why? Why? What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. It's funny how people have no answers when they question further. Why do you say that? Why do you say that? What do you mean by that? Oh, psychology is good. What do you mean? Can you explain that to me? Like, where did you hear that? Who said that? Where's the research to back that up? Asians are taking over Australia. How? Where did you read that? Channel 9? Where? Sky News? Facebook in the toilet? Where? I would really love to go check that out myself, Karen. I'm really fascinated with this research you have done. Really. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for bringing it up to my attention. So powerful. Look, they're different responses. I say there's no one fit all. I can't tell somebody what to do. Some spaces are so unsafe. Visually, your body says, I am not safe. I want to hide. That's okay. Some spaces you can be petty as hell. Take the opportunity to get one in there. Just take it for your ancestors, I say. But if you can't all fail, walk away, cross your arm, ignore. That's why allies in those spaces should be the ones stepping in. This is the importance of that calling out, that going, no, stop. I'm observing this, not okay. That's why we need them. That's why it's so important for them to do that work. A victim should never be in the position to have to negotiate that when you're already just reacting to what's happening to you, let alone trying to think of how to respond, what to say, how to fight back. It's not always possible. So I just say, be kind to yourselves, be gentle. Don't get you angry with yourself later, which I sometimes do and go, oh, I could have said that. I just go, oh, what's the end game, girl? What's the end game? The place I do think we have the most power, though, fortunately, is workplaces. Because even if later you remember everything, you can still put a complaint. You don't need to immediately react. Like I said, be a Karen for the right bloody reasons. Put a complaint in, one after the other. Just keep going. Just keep go put your complaint in if you possibly can. And online, the best allies I know in my life are the ones who will, if I tell him somebody's made a racist comment under my post, which a lot of people do, they go find that mother person, I'm sorry, MF, you know what? They go find that person and find the employer and then email the employer and call up consequences of your action. That's allyship. That's being a good Karen. Go find their email. Go find who they work for and dump them in. I'm just saying, that is such a simple thing, but that's one of the most powerful things my allies do in my life, as well as help monitor my comment sections when I make posts that I know people are going to go in their fragile feelings. They monitor it for me so I can check out. So I log off. They stay watching the comment section and they go at it against the crime, white on white crime. They just go at it. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Doing God's work. Thank you. It's the little things in life, really, you know. But for us, people of color, everyone, look after yourselves. You go to counseling and talk about this stuff, okay? You go cry, you have chocolate, You dance, you watch your movies, whatever makes you feel good, I say do that. And don't wait until there's a crisis point. Name your feelings and say, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry, that wasn't okay, I feel disrespected. I find that just to be powerful, just even naming how I'm feeling and saying that situation didn't make me feel good at all, and turning to people who can support me. There's nothing weak about it. There's nothing weak about acknowledging that we are not okay and what's happening to us is not acceptable, and then seeking help. But also be willing to walk away. If it's a workplace, be willing to leave. Be willing to leave those friends. Be willing to remove yourself if it's practical and possible. It's not worth it. We don't have to prove how strong we are by how much we put up with. Nah, we're not doing that no more. Nah.
Amazing. I feel like now suddenly I have permission to check out from some of these conversations, and I think that's a really good message for all of the other folks who are listening to this to hear, is that, you know, it's okay to protect ourselves and to give ourselves those boundaries, whatever those are, and that we don't always have to be the ones to fight every single battle. So nope. Thank you. I'm not sure how we're going for time. Do we have time for a couple more? One more? Oh, this is really hard. I have so many questions. Okay. One more. I'm choosing one from my list, if that's okay. But just around this topic of allyship, because I know so much of this conversation is about being an active bystander and being a real, genuine ally. And you mentioned Black Lives Matter and you mentioned gay rights movements. And of course, recently we've seen all kinds of messaging through social media and the like of people posting black squares and saying all of the right things. But I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on how people can ensure that their allyship is something that is genuine and that's not optical allyship and that's not performative, but actually something that can have a real impact or send the right messages to the folks who need to hear it.
Absolutely. I think it's so easy in this social media world now for people to just superficially say the right thing, do the right thing, and just sort of bubble along. But also it's almost like they think allyship is an identity. It's like boo-boo. Nobody puts that in the list of identity. They go, tick ally. Like, what is that? I'm an ally. Do you know what a real ally is? Somebody doesn't go around saying they're ally. I'm sorry. Why are you saying you're an ally? An ally is somebody who a community decides is an ally. If people don't know you like that, boo-boo, who are you an ally to? Yourself, basically. Furthering your agenda, your goal, your followers. You're not an ally. A community decides who's an ally to them. Because that then means you're serving that community, serving them. You see, I said the word serving. I'm not saying you are saving them. People confuse this too. Saving, and I know it sounds similar because English is a stupid language, but they're two different things I just said. Saving and serving are not the same thing. Better be serving the people now. Don't be trying to save them. They don't need you to save them. Ain't nobody need nobody to be saving them out in the streets. But I think what we have to be mindful, I try to myself step in that space, the communities that I'm not a member of, and I reflect on what is my role, my privilege. What has always worked for me is that constant reflection to not go down the right path. Because I think you can have the best of intention, but if you don't have you don't have reflection or self-awareness, it's easy to start off good and then slowly go down the wrong path. It's easy to start off with, I want to support, I want to amplify, but then slowly you add now the voice, slowly you are taking over, slowly it's all we hear is you have gone the wrong way. But I think having that reflection of, why am I doing this? Do I fundamentally believe equality or injustice for the particular community? Do I have a privilege in that space? Okay, good start. Or do I have a responsibility then to do something about that? Yes, awesome. Now, have I gone to that community instead and tried to understand and learn? And when I say that, folks, I ain't saying go see a black person, go, please tell me how bad racism is. How is it? Please tell me. Like, how bad? Wow, really? Still happening? I'm not saying that. Google is bloody free. Type away and click away. We'll tell you something. What I'm saying is go sit in that community, engage with the activities, with the news, follow people from that community, the top thinkers, so you're absorbing the information, so you are learning on your own, right? So you actually know what's happening enough to go, okay, I see how this is happening. Then you can also hear the calls of action that the community is saying they want, not what you think they want when you were sleeping and dreaming and you had a dream about how you could save, not that version. They are saying what they want. Sign this petition, boo-boo, just sign the petition. and share it with your friends and Auntie Karen at the barbecue. Just do that. Don't add anything extra to it. Just say, leave it at that. You see, it's simple, right? See what I'm saying? It's very simple. Then when they say donate, you got the spare change, donate. If you are within community and you stay involved with the communities that you say you want to support, I think it just naturally progresses that you're able to, hopefully, with self-reflection, stay in the right lane. It's when people want to be on the outside and they want to further their cause, and somehow what they do is just wait for something to jump on and ride that bandwagon. Then when it ends, they don't know what to do with themselves, because they were never in it for the actual community. They were in it for a clickbait situation, like Black Lives Matter happened. We bloody saw the black, what is it called? The black slides? I don't know. Nobody got saved with those black slides. Did you get money, girl? I'm waiting for the money that came out of all those people posting those slides. I want to count. Where's the coins? I don't feel like racism didn't reduce now, did it? Did it? Lord have mercy. I don't know what happened. I'm waiting for the money or for something to happen since then. But where are those businesses now? Where are those individuals now? Oh, it's been cricket. When Invasion Day, Survivor Day came, where were the numbers for that? Oh, it was Black Lives Matter yesterday. But where are you now? Nowhere to be seen. When it was deaths in custody, oh, now they're like, oh, these people are marching. We're all going to die of COVID. 2 weeks later, they're protesting 5G or 6G or 10G. I don't know which G we're going with. The only G I care for is this G, but people have other Gs they want to be fighting over. Okay, then you do you. But what happened? What happened? Is my question. So look, I always say, as an activist and as somebody who chooses to want to not be an ally because it's a community, but just show up and unpack the privileges I have. And one of the biggest ones is that I live on stolen land, which I think all of us unitedly all have as a privilege. We all live on stolen land. So all the other identities, that I think is the predominant big privilege to have if you live in Australia. Something as simple as just acknowledging that, our acknowledgement of country, sharing our platforms. Do you have to be the person on that panel? Who is on the panel? Are you best placed to speak on this topic? Can you share, bring somebody else along? Can you say, hey, I noticed we're missing. It's so simple. It's actually not that hard. In your workplace, making sure your processes have that inclusion and diversity, real ones, not just the fake ones either. But that's not hard. Following Aboriginal people online and showing you stay connected, but amplifying their message. Do you know what I do on Twitter? Somebody said to me the other day, bitch, you never type anything. It's like, please, why am I going to type anything? I follow diverse people. I share and amplify what they've said. Why should I add my second cent when it's been perfectly said, when the people who themselves are experiencing that have said what they have said? What's there to say? What, you just want to feel like you said something? Boo-boo, please. I don't need original thought. There, I have thoughts everywhere else. Can I just leave it off Twitter for a second? But something as simple as that, the fact that somebody commented, that's a reflection. They thought they needed to always add something. I'm like, but I don't. My purpose is just to amplify. And that's something I can easily do without batting an eye. Press a button, amplify a news story, amplify a message, a petition, put in money towards a fundraiser. At the most basic level, we all can do that as allies on stolen land. Everything else is just extra. It's really not that hard. But I think it's the constant reflection, though. If you are going to step up and say you want to be an ally, quotation mark, you have to constantly reflect on your intention and why you're doing what you're doing and who are you really in it for and what are you willing to do to further the cause. Because if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, if you're not willing to be checked by that community, and when they check you, go, oh, I was trying to help. Gee, we can't make mistakes. God, you should be grateful I was trying to help you. Oh, now we know, boo-boo. Oh, okay, we see you. Look, nobody's perfect. There are going to be days and I'll give an example. I got called out by a friend, last year at some point. I made a post celebrating the day I arrived in Australia. Such a migrant and refugee thing to do, you know, right? Because I was a former refugee. This is home now, and I found safety here. So I thought I would celebrate. And I chose the flag, what they call, you know, the Australian flag and the national anthem. And an Aboriginal friend of mine commented in section, said, Khadija, you need to decolonize this. What rubbish is this? I'm like, Oh, yeah, I didn't. I really didn't really think about the fact that I have come to somebody's land that's stolen. And while I have got safety here, the people own their land. They are refugees. They are fighting for survival in their own land. And here I am doing, I could have really thought about this. So what I did, deleted the post. Well, not just delete it. A lot of people just delete so the crime goes away. I went back and decolonized my post and reposted it and make sure I said why I was reposting it. So not hiding the mistake, it was a learning moment. I shouldn't be so quick to want to post. I should have taken a couple of seconds to really actually reflected on what I was about to post. And I was grateful for that call in. Didn't see it as a call out, it was a call in. And that's how I chose to receive it. So I said, thank you to my friend. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. My absolute apologies. I will now make sure, remember, to take a second. And I do now. I make sure I think and decolonize whether it's my pronouns that I'm about to use. Am I gender inclusive? Recently, I started ensuring my language around FGM was gender inclusive because we realized that it intersex people and other people from the LGBTQIA+ community who may experience that. So in line of that information, must ensure not assuming female bodies are the ones that are impacted. It's not that hard to do the decent thing. The most powerful thing, though, is for that audience, that community, how validating, how welcoming are you then being when they come to your page, they come to your space because you did that. Wow, right? It also reminds me of a dinner table I was in, and somebody said they were just so annoyed. Everyone had to put their pronouns in their email. You know what I said to them? To you, it's nothing. Of course, you're cisgender woman. This is nothing. It takes nothing away from you. You go around everyone knowing, very clearly identified, safe. But to somebody else, it's so hard to think about other people, right? That is powerful. That is safety. That's acknowledgement. That's inclusion. It actually matters. That is mental health. Do you know the impact of being misgendered? To you, it's just a bloody email. One thing you have to type in your email. But to them, it's safety. It's been acknowledged. So when you go into a room and we now all say, I'm a she, her, even our, which app the other day allowed us all, was it Facebook or Instagram? There was a new app, it allowed us now to all put our pronouns. Oh, I was on Pinterest. It sent me a message to say, I can now add my pronouns. I'm like, thank you. Awesome. I can clearly identify easily and tell people this is how I identify. So it's safe for them to do the same. It's not just them in the room. But that's what this Karen said. I'm like, okay, boo-boo. So hard to add two couple of words to your email. Just so exhausting in the world. Meanwhile, people are dying out here. LGBTIQ+ young people have the high rates of mental health. And you're out here just worrying about this extra work you have to do. Worrying about lives here. But okay, boo-boo, you do you. Allyship. It's not complicated. It's called being decent. Maybe we should actually change the stand and just say, be decent and don't be, I'm not going to swear again. Be decent.
That's a really healthy, positive way to look at it. And I think every time I end up in any kind of panel situation where I'm speaking to someone about allyship, I always end up with a new and better different definition to what I had before. And I think kind of piecing that together from so many different folks and their experiences is so much better than anything I've ever read anywhere. So thank you. And thank you so much for your time answering and your generosity answering all of these questions. And I hope that we can all go forth and be Karens for the right reasons. So thank you so much, Khadija.
But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for having me.